Well, I think we're up and running. Okay. Thank you so much for talking to us, Amita. So, Amita is an animation supervisor, and she's going to talk to us today about kind of your day-to-day, okay, Amita, and what your job is, how you got into it, anything that comes to mind, really.
Okay. Thanks, Shoma. I'm very, very happy to be here. Okay, so I've been an animator most of my adult life. I started I started animation when I was 18 years old, and I learned on the job. So I didn't actually have any education. And honestly, 3D animation, which is what I do, there were very few schools teaching back in the day. So this is, in 95. 1995. So there were very few schools teaching 3D animation back then. So everything I learned on the job. It was a very long learning journey for me because it was, step by step. And I was an animator for the first 15 odd years, and then moved on to being a lead animator. And and I've now been an animation supervisor and an animation lecturer for a while. So I work mainly on TV series. So supervision is mainly for TV series. So I have supervised a few shows that have aired on channels like Nickelodeon, BBC's CBBS, ABC, PBS Kids. And as an animator, I worked on TV series and feature films.
Wow.
So I've worked on some mainstream feature films and a few TV shows as well.
So were you approaching these companies to get those kind of jobs, or were you part of a bigger kind of community? How were you how did you fall into all of those different, because there's a big range there of different types of animation work?
So it has been a solo effort. Like I do reach out to these companies. And the good thing about, well, I think as far as job hunting for animators goes, is that there are very few studios that do big mainstream work. So there are very few studios that do the big films. So they're very easy to locate. So you know that these are the few studios that you would want to be a part of. And as far as TV series go, so the way I would go about it is I would actually look at the shows that I think I would like to work on, and then find out, which are the
I
studios
see.
that
And
we can work
research.
on that. Yes, and then reach out to them. But of course, we have, your job platforms. So you have LinkedIn, or you have job listings on some animation magazine,
I see.
animation online magazines.
Yeah.
So it's just a regular job hunt, and you just look
Yeah.
for studios that are hiring animators or animation supervisors, and I just apply.
I see. So they're all different people that you work with over this time, and you get like a
Yes.
set project and a set brief, I
Yes.
suppose, and a set time with them.
Yes, so I have worked in a number of studios. So some studios I have worked on a couple of different shows, but it's normally as an animator you are on contract job, so it's very rarely a permanent position. I mean, some small studios do offer permanent positions to animators, but mostly you're on project basis, so you're on contract for just that project. So whether it's a feature film or a series. Um, uh, as far as feature films are concerned, a feature film could take about, even up to 2.5 years to be made. Uh, but the part of an animator might be just about 8, 9 months.
Oh,
So you
okay.
just come in for those 8, 9 months, you do your work, and
Yeah.
then you're done.
Okay.
Your bit is done in the movie, and then
Yeah.
you just move on to the next
Do
one.
you like
So
that part of the job because it's so it's so changeable, and you're doing one thing one year and something different, or is it quite stressful? I imagine sometimes as well when you're in that
um,
transition period.
it depends. It's the thing that I like the most about the job,
Okay.
because it allowed me to travel. So I traveled a lot for work. which was my favorite part, actually, of the profession. But of course, when you have a family and you have children and you really do need to settle down, then it becomes a bit of a hindrance because, I mean, I guess I could still do it, but it's really not ideal for family life. So, sorry, I have my kid in the...
Oh, hello! So we're talking to Amita now, you're in India, so you're about, is it 5.5 hours ahead? So it's kind of late afternoon. You're getting into your evening now, are you?
Yes, it's 6 in the evening now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you said, sorry, we'll go back. You said you started when you were about 18 and you were kind of on this program you learnt on the job. I mean, did you always know you wanted to be an animator? I mean, what came before that? Did you do any kind of art training at all? I mean, were you drawing and painting and doing other things and you kind of just landed in animation, or was it your focus? You always wanted to do that?
I didn't even know animation actually existed as a job option. I didn't. So I used to draw and paint a lot. I didn't officially study art, but it was just something I really liked doing, and I would do all the time, and draw and paint, and I did a little bit of pottery and a little bit of clay modeling. And it just so happened that I knew someone who was setting up an animation studio, and back in the day it was like one of a handful of animation studios across the country, and he offered me a job as an intern, like just someone to help out and maybe do a few painting touch-ups. And I started there and completely fell in love with it. So I never left. That job carried on for like 4.5 years, and I never left.
I'm sure all that practice of painting, though, and kind of self-teaching yourself all of those skills really helped you, right? To be able to step into an intern job like that.
Yes. So it was hectic, but because it was so mesmerizing to me, just animation is such a fascinating thing, just bringing things to life. And it was a lot of hard work because learning animation on your own without a structure being provided to you can be really difficult, because it's a lot of fumbling your way through. Because there are guidelines in animation. There is a science to the art of animation, but to discover that just while you are working and figuring it out for yourself, project by project, it's tedious. But again, it's such a fun job to do that you don't mind putting in that hard work, and
it sounds
staying at it.
I suppose that as well, when you started, it's not like today where you have all of these tutorials and all of this online resources. I mean, you didn't have access to that. I mean, today it's going to be very different for a student starting out in animation, right? They're learning skills from a very young age now.
Yeah, I mean, we are living in an age right now where pretty much, you could pick any subject under the sun to learn, and you could learn it yourself because there are so many resources available on everything. But yes, back in the day, 3D animation itself was so new as an industry.
You must have seen it change a lot since you started.
Oh, yes.
Right? Technology.
Yes, I feel like... my God, the developments in 3D animation, like they come quicker than you can possibly, wrap your head around it. So it's always, you're always trying to keep up with the developments. And
I mean, even now you're going to be learning all the time, right? I mean, you're never going to stop. There's always going to be something new coming out and a new way of doing something, even now, right?
Definitely. And now even more so, because now the jumps are so much bigger in the development and the technology, I mean, it's just, and also because the industry has become so big, there are just so many heads put together in making these massive leaps in technology. So it is a lot of exciting stuff. I mean, it's the quality and just the amount of just the amount of stuff you can do in animation has
do you work in a big team? So you have lots of heads and lots of experience and different people working on very different, because there's so much detail in these animations. I mean, you can share your work in a moment, but it's just the detail of this stuff. I mean, are you with a big team? I imagine there's a lot of people working on these productions, right?
Yes, and especially for feature films, because like you said, like the detail in feature films is so much. So it's very time consuming. So on a feature film, you could probably be producing as an animator just about 1 second of film in a week. So it takes you a week to do just 1 second of animation on film. And so obviously, you know, it cannot be just a few animators, because that would take an extremely long time to finish the film. So on feature films, we do have a really big team. So, for example, on Happy Feet, I think at the peak of production, we were almost about 60 odd animators, I think. It's been a while, but yeah, the teams can get really big.
Yeah, great. So, would you like to? Could we see some of your stuff? You've got some. It's 3 minutes? Did you say, of just some pieces of work that you've done before? Oh, this is so great. When you're ready, let me know, and I'll share it with everyone.
Okay, so it's actually it's my showreel, and it's a compilation of work that I have done as an animator, as an animation supervisor. So some of the shows that I've supervised, I haven't animated on. So the first section is my work as an animator, and then it's supervision, and then some work that I have worked on with students as a lecturer. So while I was teaching
fantastic.
animation.
Okay, cool.
So,
okay.
Yes, I think I'm ready to share now.
Thank you. Let's have a look. Yeah, we can see that. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, so Happy Feet was a lot of fun. I worked on both of them, 1 and 2, but a lot of fun.
It looks fun. The film is fun, so it must have been great.
Yeah, and just a really nice team, and we were working in Sydney, so that was great.
Are there different softwares for all the different types of animation? I mean, is it quite varied? Or you've mentioned one to me earlier, but was that the software for the majority of work you do?
Yes. So the most popular one is Maya, and almost all of these are on Maya. And that's the one I work on mainly as an animator.
Got no time, Ben. Right. Having a picnic with Angela this afternoon. Huh?
You'll have plenty of time when you help me complete the time slower.
Angela's at the store right now picking out our grapes.
Do you have any kind of creative things with the story? The story's given to you, right? You've got the writers, and then you're directed from there.
Yes. So normally the story is done. We have something known as the animatic. So the animatic tells us what the director wants to see, and the cameras that he chooses, and how he wants to tell the story. And then we step in.
I see.
So these are the student films. These are master students, master level students that I was teaching a few years ago.
It must be quite suited to online, or were you face to face with these students at the time? Or is this kind of learning remotely possible?
It's definitely possible remotely, but these were all face to face. These were all classroom. So that's about it.
Great, Amita, that's just wonderful. Thank you so much. Such a varied portfolio. Wow. So I have a question that's come in actually from one of our students, Emily Marsden. She's asking, what made you choose digital animation over other types? But obviously you kind of answered that with your journey, but were there other types of animation that you kind of dipped into or experienced as well on your journey? Or was it all digital?
So, yeah, well, actually, like you said, it really has to do a lot with my journey because I stepped into the industry as a 3D animator. I never actually took the time to explore 2D animation, though I find it very interesting. It's as intriguing, and honestly, I feel like as a 3D animator, it's a lack in my skills to not have 2D animation in my portfolio as well, because that would definitely have helped. I would to
I think I've lost you for a second there. There you go. It's settled down.
Yeah.
I think you're back. There you go.
Yes. So for anybody who wants to get into 3D animation, I would strongly suggest at least some study in 2D animation. So the hand-drawn classical style of animation, because that definitely helps understand motion and movement better. So yes, I mean, it would have been good for me to study 2D animation as well, but I just stuck with 3D because I couldn't. It just didn't give me time enough to do anything more than what I was doing in the job, because it's super hectic. So I just stuck with 3D.
So for our students, we have many. I mentioned to you earlier this morning that we have many of different ages. But if we think about GCSE, then that it's kind of the first level 2, where they kind of get introduced to the arts and things. Any advice for them? I mean, so many of them love their digital art and they aspire to do what you're doing. I mean, where do they start at that age? What would you say to them now, looking back? What would you have wanted to know before you went into it at 18? Just this 2D stuff, do you think? More experience maybe with the 2D art maybe?
So I would say if you do want to get into this line, draw a lot. Because that is important. There are a lot of animators who don't have a solid background with drawing, but that's always going to be a disadvantage. So draw a lot. If you want to do cartoons, and you obviously have access to all cartoons, then study them. Don't just watch them from don't just blankly watch them. Actually scrutinize carefully, study them. Try and take bits of cartoon animation and replicate them. So just freeze frame and try and draw, and then move 1 or 2 frames, see what makes the movement.
I see.
So animation to a very large scale is all about your observation skills. So that is something that you can develop on your own, right? So I would say work on your observation skills, study life around you. It's not just animation. It's because when you become an animator, you are pretty much trying to bring movement down to its core essentials, right? So whether it is a lizard moving or a snake moving or a dog moving, you have to break it down to what is it that makes a dog a dog. And it's that kind of observation that you really do need as an animator. Because without that, you will never be able to capture the gist of motion for any creature or even any object, animate or inanimate. So I would say work on your observation skills, work on your drawing skills. And after a while, I would say it is good to get some sort of structured study in as well, because like I'm the living example of that. It's a lot of fumbling, and it's a lot of a trial and error, which takes up too much time. So just for practicality's sake, I think it's good to get some sort of structure in your study also.
Yeah. What is nice, I don't know if it's the same, because we were talking about our education systems are quite different, but there's a lot in the courses today that like to see the development and like to see things that go wrong, and it doesn't matter because that's part of your learning, right? I mean, so many things are going to go wrong before you get the thing that's right. So to document those things, knowing that you're going to get credit for those in your work in your courses when you're getting qualified, it's actually a big part of the journey, isn't it? To be trial and error and to document that and to embrace it and know that you're not going to get everything right the first time, second time, third time. It's a big test of your patience and resilience, I think.
Yes, that's very true. And of course, you do learn the most with trial and error and just trying stuff out. The only thing with animation is that you don't always know that you've got it wrong till you have someone experienced enough to look at it and say that, no, actually this doesn't work, So you don't really know unless you have strong feedback. So
be brave, share your work with people and get the feedback, because some people are scared to that. It's a very personal thing, art, and I think a lot of our students do struggle initially with that. Oh, I've got to share it now and I've got to get a critique, but I kind of keep telling them it is a part of it.
It's a very big part of it, actually. You cannot be an animator if you have a problem sharing your work, because in the animation circle, we actually talk about showing your work to just about anyone and everyone. Like show it to your mother, show it to your neighbor, show it to someone who has no idea about animation, because it's all about believability. Whatever.
Yeah, they're your audience, aren't they?
Exactly. So sharing is I know, I mean, it's extremely tricky. All of us have been through that, right? You put your heart and soul into something, and then there's this fear of like, what the response
they're not going to like it.
You have to share your work.
I think from experience as well, though, even as an artist, you're going to critique your own work when you've moved on yourself. You look back at your first projects and think, oh, I could have done this so much better, because you're moving all the time, aren't you? And technology is developing all the time. That it is just part of it. And to reflect and evaluate and just keep moving forwards is the way to go, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely, it's cringeworthy each time you look at your work from the past. You're like always embarrassed. Oh my God, what was I thinking? And it seemed so great at the time, and it got approved, and everyone thought it was good. But yes, that always happens. It changes a lot.
Yeah, you do, don't you? You're constantly evolving, but I think that's the amazing thing about art in general, whatever genre you go into. But animation is definitely fascinating, and it's definitely a big aspiration for many of our students. So thank you for talking to me today, Amita. I'm sure many of our students are going to be writing. My email's going to go crazy now. Please ask this. I keep checking, but I think most are in classes now. But we will be in touch. And Amita, thanks again for talking to us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right then. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Amita. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.